Orders of the day.
I was going to say no.
Ballot item 12, Mr. Coe.
I recognize the member for Don Valley North.
Thank you, Speaker. I move second reading of Bill 183, an act to proclaim the month of February as Chinese Heritage Month.
Mr. Ke has moved second reading of Bill 183, an act to proclaim the month of February as Chinese Heritage Month. Pursuant to Standing Order 100, the member has 12 minutes for his presentation.
Thank you, Speaker. Acknowledgement is a gift. It is a sign of respect and an act of esteem. Acknowledgement says, I see you and I hear you. It says, I recognize your value and know your worth. When we acknowledge Ontarians of Chinese heritage, we are essentially saying, welcome home. You belong here as valued members of our province and culture. Speaker, today I stand before you as a proud Canadian citizen and as an equally proud Ontarian who feels honored to represent people in my riding of Don Valley North. I'm also a person of Chinese origin. I feel grateful to live in the province of Ontario, where I am free to openly express pride in my Chinese heritage and culture. Speaker, with Bill 183, an act to proclaim February as Chinese Heritage Month in Ontario, we acknowledge as peers and equals our fellow Canadians of Chinese descent. They are our neighbors, colleagues, and friends. They are a part of the Ontario family. Heritage is a place of comfort. It reminds us of our history, customs, language, and traditions. Ontario is full of history and heritage. It is also a central economic engine for this vast union made up provinces and territories, indigenous communities, and dynamic cities and towns, all inhabited by people whose origins represent a panoramic snapshot of the wider world. As we in Ontario accept and celebrate differences, we realize that we are stronger together when united in an atmosphere of mutual trust and respect. Speaker, according to the 2021 census, over 820,000 individuals of Chinese descent call Ontario home. They represent almost 6% of Ontario's total population. Over 32,000 people of Chinese ethnicity live in my riding of Don Valley North. They are the people who occupy their rightful place in our history and a promising place in our future. As Ontarians, they are one of us. Statistics Canada reports, quote, the Chinese population in Canada is made up of people with a wide spectrum of experiences, from those who have recently immigrated to those whose families have contributed to the fabric of Canada for generations, end quote. The presence of people of Chinese heritage in Ontario enhances Canada's reputation as an open, welcoming society which is known and revered for its dynamic multicultural landscape. Speaker, together we have the chance here today to demonstrate to everyone watching and listening that our people, our nation, our province, and our cities and towns stand proudly by our claims of diversity, inclusion, and multiculturalism. There are many Canadians of Chinese heritage who serve and succeed in the fields of education and healthcare, commerce and banking, business and industry, science and technology, communications, IT and AI, law and public policy, construction and engineering, innovation and research, charitable endeavors, and cultural activities, just to name a few. And some, like me, venture into politics, hoping to make a difference for others. Chinese immigrants have a deep desire to participate in all aspects of Canadian life. Speaker, the immigrants' experience is not always easy, but as the Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu reminded us in Chinese, quote, 千里之行，始于足下. In English, this means the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step, end quote. Today, we can take that first step together with Bill 183 and act to proclaim February as Chinese Heritage Month each year. Heritage and culture are complex and personal experiences, first cultivated into one's birthplace and shared through generations. Heritage is one's past whose legacy lives on for the future. Chinese culture is steeped in the tea of a shared experience and is naturally understood by Ontarians of Chinese origin, whose storied heritage spans centuries. There are many emblematic traits and values associated with Chinese people whose ancient culture is significant and diverse. Among them is a keen sense of duty and service to others, the desire and discipline to pursue education, the commitment to achievement and success through hard work, a sincere respect for elders in society, and a strong attachment to family, faith, children, and community. A big part of Chinese culture includes a love of the arts, games, and sporting activities, such as dance, calligraphy, table tennis tournaments, music recitals, poetry performances, boxing matches, and Toronto's annual Dragon Boat Festival competition, the latter of which I have participated in very often. Speaker, for Ontarians of Chinese descent, the widely celebrated Lunar New Year features familiar traditions that highlights Chinese culture and heritage. It is a special time of reflection, reunion, and renewal. 2024 is the year of dragon. The dragon symbolizes character, confidence, and courage. According to a Starscan Plus report, quote, Chinese New Year, also known as the Spring Festival, marks the beginning of the new year based on the lunisolar Chinese calendar, filled with celebrations, feasting, and gatherings. It is an important holiday among many in East Asian countries, along with their diaspora around the world, end quote. Yes, the Lunar New Year is certainly a festive time, with food being a vital ingredient of Chinese culture. It is a time to prepare and share the wide variety of traditional foods with those we love. The flavors and fruits of Chinese heritage are popular among Ontarians who love to experience a taste of Chinese culture. Speaker, people of Chinese descent also shaped a significant part of our Canadian history as we acknowledge the incredible feat of building the Canadian Pacific Railroad and later the harsh imposition of the Chinese head tax. Chinese Canadians endure. They contribute substantially to the glory of celebrated achievements, such as actor Simu Liu's rise to fame in the popular Marvel movie, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Speaker, let's acknowledge the impressive work by the EEC debate team, which is comprised of many high school students of Chinese ancestry and who recently competed and won the prestigious Harvard World Schools Debating Tournament, which showcased the higher caliber of Ontario students and education on the international stage. And as well, let's acknowledge the Chinese-Canadian figure skating star, Patrick Chan, an outstanding world champion and Olympian who proudly competed for Canada on the ice to bring home the coveted gold medal in the team event in Pyeongchang in 2018. There are countless examples of Chinese Canadians who represent us all to the world with the true Ontario spirit and genuine Canadian pride. While there are numerous instances of excellence among people of Chinese origin, there also exists the truth that at times they face anti-Asian sentiment that stays silently under the surface, only to boil over during times of crisis, such as the SARS pandemic and the COVID-19 pandemic, that attracted to them unfair blame and shame. Chinese Canadians have often been tested and their loyalty questioned. Yet, despite the challenges they face, they continue to triumph over adversity. Their hard work and determination to succeed and rise above hatred and discrimination deserves recognition. Speaker, during the pandemic, Ontarians of Chinese heritage were among the first to rally together to donate money and personal protective equipment supplies and distribute them to people in our communities, especially the most vulnerable seniors in long-term care homes and hospitals, and the brave healthcare workers who care for them. Speaker, when Ontario needs help, people of Chinese origin are often the first to show up. The role models I mentioned are merely a few examples of a visible minority of major importance, especially for young people of Chinese ethnicity who need to see themselves reflected in others like them.
Now, I apologize to the member. It's time for further debate. Further debate. I recognize the member for Hamilton West, Ancaster Dundas.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It is an honour to rise today in support of Bill 183, an act to proclaim the month of February as Chinese Heritage Month. This important recognition provides an opportunity to celebrate the immense contributions and rich cultural traditions of the Chinese Canadians have brought to our province, while also acknowledging our commitment to learn from our painful history of prejudice and discrimination. The first Chinese immigrants arrived in the late 1700s, seeking economic opportunities and a better life. Despite facing language barriers and racial discrimination, this resilient community persevered, taking on incredibly difficult labour, such as building the Canadian Pacific Railway through the Rocky Mountains. Although Chinese Canadians have helped build the infrastructure and economic foundations of our nation, they continue to face institutionalized racism and discrimination. Canadian governments enforced decades of unfair policies like the Chinese head tax and the Chinese Immigration Act, which restricted immigration from China. But despite these incredible hardships and injustices, the Chinese Canadian community not only persevered but thrived. Their resilience, courage and determination laid the groundwork for the vibrant communities we have today, making immeasurable contributions across sectors like science, medicine, business, arts and public service. The deep connection between Canada and China didn't begin, but is remarkable when we look at that deep affection that was engendered because of Dr. Norman Bethune. He was a Canadian humanitarian who was revered in China, and he served in China by providing medical aid under fire and training the wounded during World War II. Dr. Bethune embodied humanitarianism, sacrificing his life in 1939. He is revered in China. His legacy inspires Canada-China connections forged through cooperation and selflessness. So throughout the 20th century, iconic Chinatowns emerged across Ontario. We see them in all of our communities on Ontario as cultural hubs and providing a sense of place to celebrate traditions, cuisine, and language together. Today, over 800,000 Ontarians proudly claim Chinese heritage, the largest ethnic minority in our province. We celebrate renowned authors like Evelyn Lau, Wei-Sin Choi, who gave voice to the Chinese-Canadian experience, and they have left indelible marks. I would be remiss if I didn't mention Adrienne Clarkson, who was the first visible minority and the first Chinese Canadian to be appointed to as Canada's Governor-General, the 26th Governor-General, and she served from 1999 to 2005. So as we commemorate Chinese Heritage Month, we honour the trailblazers who overcame adversity through sheer determination and celebrate the ways Chinese traditions have become woven into the diverse social fabric of our province. However, we must also reflect on the discrimination and racism Chinese Canadians have faced historically and often continue to battle today. The unsettling rise in anti-Asian racism and hate crimes, not just targeting Chinese Canadians, but all people, particularly during the pandemic, from verbal harassment to violent physical attacks, is unacceptable and tarnishes our values of inclusion and respect for all. We must face down such hatred through education, solidarity, and stand united against the forces of intolerance and division. So this bill is about an important recognition. It's about giving us all an opportunity to appreciate and celebrate the incredible richness Chinese heritage has brought to Ontario, while working towards an even more just and equitable society for all. Thank you, Speaker, and congratulations on that important bill.
The debate, I recognize the member for Scarborough-Agincourt.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise today with great pride to speak on second reading of Bill 183, the Chinese Heritage Month Act 2024. As the member of the Provincial Parliament for Scarborough-Agincourt, I am honoured to represent a riding where over 40% of the residents are of a Chinese descent. Their rich cultural heritage and vibrant contributions to our community enriches our community every day. Madam Speaker, before I delve into the significance of this bill, allow me to take a moment to reflect on the remarkable history of the Chinese people and their contributions to humanity. From the invention of the paper and printing to the development of gunpowder and compass navigation, Chinese civilization has gifted the world with countless innovations that we often take for granted today. While we commemorate Asian Heritage Month in May, it is equally vital to dedicate a specific month to celebrate the unique contributions of the Chinese community in Ontario. That's why I am proud to co-sponsor this bill alongside my colleague Vincent Ke, MPP for Don Valley North, to officially recognize February as Chinese Heritage Month. As we want to celebrate the establishment of Chinese Heritage Month in February, it is important to recognize that this month holds a special significance for the Chinese-Canadian community. The Lunar New Year, celebrated during this time, marks a new beginning and symbolizes hope and prosperity for the year ahead. Over 400 people attended my inaugural Scarborough-Agincourt Chinese Lunar New Year celebration and enjoyed the authentic food and entertainment with their families. It was truly amazing to see residents from all ages and backgrounds attending the event. The Chinese community has made immense contributions to Canada and Ontario, shaping our social, economic, and cultural landscapes. From pioneering advancement in science and technology to driving innovation in business and arts, Chinese Canadians have left an indelible mark on our society. Speaker, we cannot talk about the Chinese Canadian experience without acknowledging the challenges they have faced, including discriminatory policies such as the head tax. Moreover, let us not forget the significant role the Chinese immigrants played in building Canada's transcontinental railway, connecting the east to the west and contributing to a united Canada from sea to sea to sea. Their tireless labor under harsh conditions helped to lay the foundation for the economic, political, and social development and growth of our country. Despite these obstacles, the resilience and the determination of early Chinese immigrants have paved the way for future generations to thrive in this land we call home. In Ontario, we are fortunate to have many exemplary Chinese Canadians who have achieved successes in various fields, from trailblazing scientists and entrepreneurs to celebrated artists and cultural icons. Their achievements serve as a testament to the strength and diversity of our community. It is worth mentioning some of these trailblazers. Quan Li Chu led the class action to secure the federal government apology for Canada's discriminatory policy against Chinese Canadians. Jean Lump, the first Chinese Canadian woman restaurateur and Order of Canada recipient. Q Dakip, the first lawyer of Chinese origin in Canada. He was awarded the Outstanding Service to the Legal Professional Medal by the Law Society of Upper Canada. Dum Shi, Academy Award-winning director, writer, and storyboard artist of Pixar. Honorable Lieutenant Colonel Nancy M. Sue, citizenship judge and Honorable Lieutenant Colonel. Madam Justice Avi Yao Yao Go, the first Chinese Canadian to be appointed to the federal court. The Right Honorable Adrian Clarkson, the 26th Governor General, broadcaster and journalist. Senator Vivian Poy, senator, historian, fashion designer. Patrick Chan, figure skater. Dr. Tak Wamak, microbiologist, immunologist. Dr. Li Chi Tzu, geneticist. Dr. Joseph Wang, family doctor and co-founder of Association for Learning and Preserving the History of World War II in Asia. Dr. Ming Tat Chung, he led the Toronto community to build the Chinese Cultural Center of Greater Toronto, the largest Chinese cultural center in North America. Olivia Chow, Mayor of Toronto. Rosa Chan, community leader. Michael Lee Chin, businessman and philanthropist. What sets the Chinese Canadian community apart is their unwavering commitment to overcoming adversity with positive attitude and unwavering productivity. They have not only embraced their heritage, but also embraced the value of diversity, multiculturalism, and inclusion, enriching the fabric of our society in the process. As we move forward, let's use Chinese Heritage Month as an opportunity to celebrate the past achievements, present contributions, and future potential of the Chinese community in Canada. By doing so, we honor their legacy and reaffirm our commitment to building a more inclusive and equitable Ontario for all. Therefore, I ask and urge all my colleagues to support this bill and recognize the importance of officially designating February as Chinese Heritage Month in Ontario. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Further debate. I recognize the member for Markham Thornhill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you. I'm happy to rise today and speak on Chinese Heritage Month. Niha, Nihama, Raja Ho. And thank you to my colleague from Scarborough Agincourt, his wording and lead off, and the member from Don Valley North for his leadership for drafting this bill 183 Chinese Heritage Month Act. Speaker, as a MPP for Markham Thornhill and the parliamentary assistant to the Minister of Citizenship and Multiculturalism, I have been able to see firsthand how the diversity of our communities contribute to the strength of our province. I have had the honor and privileged to represent Chinese constituents and the residents in Markham for almost 2 decades. Markham is the most ethnically diverse riding in all of Canada, according to the census. Speaker, you don't need to travel outside of the country to see the world. You can see the world right here in Markham and Ontario, especially it's the food and culture and the dances. The different faith, cultures and background that make up our communities is precisely what makes Ontario is a beacon of diversity that is known around the world as an accepting and inclusive place for all. As a part of this diversity, we proudly observe numerous Heritage Month weeks and days throughout the year, and all of which celebrate the many diverse communities who have and continue to contribute so much to our province. This month alone, Ontario is celebrating Armenian and Dutch, Jewish, Polish, and Asian Heritage Month. And in June, we will proudly observe Filipinos, Italian, and Portuguese Heritage Month, Madam Speaker. Speaker, our government is proud to make and celebrate these important days and Heritage Month because they provide us all with opportunity to reflect and recognize on the unique contribution and histories these communities are making. Speaker, Ontario's Sinic communities should be no different. As a home to the largest Chinese population in Canada and one of the largest in the world outside of China, Chinese Ontarians have a long and storied history in Ontario. Chinese Ontarian story and their history is Ontarian history and Canadian history. However, Chinese Ontarians don't yet have a legislated time that recognizes them and their history here in Ontario. Speaker, there is no diversity without inclusivity. And by proclaiming February as a Chinese Heritage Month, we are sending a strong message that all people deserve to have their contribution to this great province to be recognized. With that said, I am proud to support this bill and encourage my colleagues to join me in supporting it as well. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Further debates, I recognize the member for Markham Unionville.
To my colleagues from Don Valley North, Scarborough Agincourt and Markham Thornhill for their words. It's such an honour to conclude the government's remarks during the second reading debate of Bill 183, the Chinese Heritage Month, 中华文化月. As an Ontarian Chinese origin, this bill is very close to my heart and the one that I know be well received by the member of community in Markham Unionville, as we are home to one of the largest Chinese community in Ontario, covered 66.6% Chinese in my riding. This bill, which recognizes the long-standing history of the community and its rich cultural traditions, is an important step to show our support and appreciation for the over 820,000 Ontarians of Chinese origin who call our province home. And for all, they are here to build a stronger and more vibrant Ontario. If passed, this bill will not only give the community the recognition they deserve, but ensure the Ontarians for years and generations to come will remember all the ways in which the Chinese community has helped shape our province into everything it is today. I'm proud to have the opportunity to rise today and show my support for the important bill alongside with my colleagues and reaffirm our commitment to celebrate the diversity and inclusivity that is central to who we are as Ontarians. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
For the debate, I recognize the member for Ottawa Centre.
Thank you very much, Speaker, and I want to thank the member for Don Valley North, Shay from the bottom of my heart, from our community. Very vibrant Chinese community in our city, Speaker. Very proud to name a few people while I have the moment now. I want to name Professor Jamie Chai Yong Liu, who's just produced a phenomenal book called Dandelion, which tells the story. I'll read from the excerpt here. Multi-generational coming-of-age tale, part suspense-filled mystery adventure, part gastronom's journal, part sociological treatise, and in many ways a ghost story. Each aspect blended with the others to create a lyrical yet emotionally taut and complex narrative that carries readers from a British Columbia coal mining town to Ottawa's Chinatown. So this is a phenomenal. It was long listed for Canada Reads this year. I want to congratulate Professor Liu. I also want to congratulate the business community in Ottawa Centre, particularly Executive Director of the Chinatown Business Improvement Association, Mr. Yukong Li and Mr. Peter So, who do incredible work promoting the work of small businesses in Chinatown. And I want to invite everybody in this House and everybody watching, if you happen to be in Ottawa, you cannot miss the Chinatown Night Market from May 31st to June 2nd. If you believe my son, and I believe him for many things, it is the best food available in our city at any time of the year. So please come, and what you will taste and what you will sample has to do with conscious small businesses that do wonderful work in our community. I want to also acknowledge Professor Xiaobei Chen at Carleton University, who is an expert on Sino-Canadian, Sino-North American relations and has done a lot at Carleton University to welcome students coming from China and also to educate us about, as some of my other colleagues have mentioned, the disturbing rise of anti-Asian racism. I want to recount for the record one particular moment which was disturbing to me as the member for Ottawa Centre. There were a few gentlemen during the pandemic who, given their opposition to pandemic measures, decided for some reason to protest outside the Kowloon Market. It's one of our wonderful Asian Canadian grocers in Chinatown, targeting that business, if you can believe it, Speaker, going inside the business and preventing people from leaving because they were challenging the decision to patronize that business. I want to thank the owners of the Kowloon Market. I want to thank the patrons that day who kept their cool, waited for police to arrive, and I want to hope that those people who, for whatever reason, thought it necessary to protest that very important business, I hope they've had a reawakening. I hope whatever silo they've fallen down on social media, I hope they find the way to recognize that that market is actually one of the best markets to buy produce in Ottawa Centre, and it's no threat to our security. I want to welcome Chinese Heritage Month as an opportunity for us to understand in Ontario all of the contributions of Chinese Canadians to our great province. As I end, Speaker, I feel compelled to shout out two other people, one already mentioned by the member for Scarborough Agincourt, the great Olivia Chow, Mayor of this city, one of my organizing mentors, who is one of those politicians who got knocked down and got back up again. Who lost elections but rose with wisdom later to become mayor of this terrific city. And I look at the organizing approach that Olivia brings to politics across party lines, that Olivia does in particular her efforts to welcoming youth. I'll share some secrets as I offer this speech, Speaker. She was very discerning when she came to our organizer group in Ottawa Centre about who she wanted to come out and help in her campaign. She wanted young people, and particularly young multilinguistic people, to come and organize in the greater city of Toronto, but in particular in Scarborough, people who had the opportunity to reach out to neighbours, so people you were speaking about, my friend. And wow, what a resonance, what an approach, what a leader. I also want to salute Kristen Wong-Tam, who I am very proud to sit with here on this side of the House, who has served here only for a short 2 years. I've been here for 6 years, but I can honestly say, in the way MPP Wong-Tam treats others and the way they hold force in this chamber, I learn something new every single time I get the opportunity to interact with that member. So I will just end, Speaker, again by thanking the member for Don Valley North for bringing this forward. Salute it as an opportunity for us to learn more about our country and particularly Chinese Canadian contributions to it. Again, thank you.
Further debates. I recognize the member for Ottawa South.
Thank you very much, Speaker, and I'm pleased to rise today and speak to Bill 183, Chinese Heritage Month, and I want to thank my colleagues from Scarborough Agincourt and Don Valley North for bringing it forward. My colleague Ted Chu from Kingston and the Islands could not be here this evening. He really wanted to be here to go to Oxford, so I said I'd say a few words on his behalf. And I first want to talk about how important Heritage Month bills are to communities. We live in very, very diverse communities. In my community of Ottawa South, people from over 125 countries of origin, speaking more than 100 languages, all live in that, and most of our ridings are like that. And heritage bills mean so much to communities so they can not just express to their children their heritage and where they came from, their values, but also expose all of us to the contributions that Canadians that came from other places in the world, whether it be China or Lebanon, where I did a Lebanese Heritage Month bill, they can talk about the contributions that they've made to our country. And that's something very important for their children to learn and for all of us to learn. And the other thing I think that's really important, and it goes with literally all cultures, is all cultures have food. And food is so central to culture that it's important to be able to share that. And it's, as my colleague from Ottawa Centre mentioned, the night market that is on Somerset at the end of this month, it's just great. It's fantastic. It's full. In Ottawa, we got to Chinatown because of actually a former colleague here, Bob Shirelli, worked with the community to get an archway built. It's a beautiful archway that still stands, and it really defines the community. So, I think sometimes people look at these Heritage Month bills and they think, what are we doing? They're really, really, really important. And I want to thank my colleagues for bringing it forward. I do also want to give one other shout out to the Chinese community in Ottawa, because my colleague from Ottawa Centre just about covered everything. But the Glebe Centre, the community, I noticed you missed that. I don't think you intended to, but it was, the Glebe Centre has a unit of, I think, 32 beds, long-term care beds, that's specifically for the community. And the community works so hard to get that built, but even more importantly, continues to work hard every year to supplement what the government pays for long-term care, to make sure that the food and that the language and that the culture is there for people as they age at the end of their lives. And it's really, it's quite a spectacular thing. And they raise, I think, it's well into six figures every year to make sure that happens for their seniors. And I want to thank them for that, congratulate them, and thank my colleagues for bringing this forward, and I'll be supporting the bill. Thank you, Speaker.
The member now has 2 minutes from Don Valley North, has 2 minutes for a response.
Thank you, Speaker. And thank you to MPP Alex Babican for your vocal support of this bill as co-sponsor. Together, for our constituents of Chinese ethnicity, we hope to make a difference. To the government and the opposition MPPs, MPP Kanapati, MPP Pound, MPP Shawn, MPP Howden, MPP Fraser, who commented thoughtfully on Bill 183, I thank you for your valuable contributions. I say to all distinguished members of this House, your support of this bill is not merely a symbolic gesture. It is a substantial act of acknowledgement and respect. To my colleagues Ontario of Chinese descent, let us remind you today and always that you belong here, and this is our home. Let's stand together today to tell our fellow Canadians and Ontarians of Chinese descent that we see you, we hear you, we care about you, and we thank you for your contributions to our Canada and the province we all love and call home. To my colleagues, a Chinese proverb advises, quote, the pen of the tongue shall be dipped in the ink of the heart, end quote. Its English equivalent home poet Maya Angelou says, quote, I have learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you make them feel, end quote. Thank you for standing with me today to make Ontarians of Chinese origin feel worthy of being seen, heard, and acknowledged with the support of Bill 183, an act to proclaim February each year as Chinese Heritage Month. Thank you so much. And I want to especially thank for my staff, Kathy, Christina, and Wendy, that's sitting upstairs to come to support this bill. Thank you, Speaker.
The time provided for private members' public business has now expired. Mr. Ke has moved second reading of Bill 183, an act to proclaim the month of February as Chinese Heritage Month. Is it the pleasure of the House that the motion carry? Carried. Carried.
Second reading of the bill. Deuxième lecture de projet de loi.
Pursuant to Standing Order 100H, the bill is referred to the Committee of the Whole House unless the member would like to refer it to a standing committee.
Standing Committee of Heritage, Infrastructure and Culture.
Is it the majority of the House in favour of this bill being referred to the Standing Committee on Heritage? Agreed. The bill is referred to the Standing Committee on Heritage and Infrastructure. All matters relating to private members' public business having been completed, we now have a late show.